Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on London Prodigal, and today we get to hear from Uncle Flowerdale in Act 1, Scene 9. We had back-to-back monologues in this scene, oh my goodness. So at the beginning of this scene, we find out that Matthew married Luce that morning, and Oliver and Greenshield were very upset about that because they were each promised her, she promised herself kind of to Greenshield, and her father had promised her to Oliver. But because of the fake will, her father had her marry Matthew instead. So they find out that she's already married and they're very upset, but then the whole wedding party comes in and Uncle Flowerdale is there and he goes up to Matthew and arrests him. Remember, this is a plan that Uncle Flowerdale and Old Flowerdale had to try to get Matthew on the straight and narrow. So Uncle Flowerdale comes in and he's like, you owe me 3,000 pounds, so you're under arrest. And they're like, no, you can't do this, you can't arrest me. And Spurcock is so upset. It comes out that the will was fake and Matthew doesn't have any of the lands or lordships or any of the stuff that he claimed to have. So now he's married his daughter Luce to somebody who has nothing. And he's like, Luce, come with me. You know, can we get you to marry Greenshield? Can we get you to marry Oliver? And neither of them want her because now she's used goods. But she's also like, I didn't want to marry this guy in the first place, and now you want me to ditch him? That's not cool. I'm standing by him. Spurcock is like, well, then you're cut off. You get nothing else from me. I completely disown you. And he leaves, and she is just distraught. We're on stage with the three Flowerdale boys, Luce, the sheriff, and some officers. And in yesterday's monologue, she was pleading with Uncle Flowerdale to spare Matthew, saying that she would try to pay off his debts, you know, all of this sort of stuff, and begging him to take pity on her. And to please not ruin these two lives. And Uncle Flowerdale says, fair maid, stand up, not in regard of him, but in pity of thy hapless choice. I do release him. Monsieur Sheriff, I thank you. And officers, there is for you to drink. Here, maid, take this money. There is 100 angels. And for I will be sure he shall not have it. Here, Kester, take it you, and use it sparingly. But let not her have any want at all. Dry your eyes, niece. Do not too much lament for him whose life hath been in riot spent. For if well he useth thee, he gets him friends. If ill, a shameful end on him depends. So he takes pity on her and he releases Matthew. He says, you are released. Here you go. You're not under arrest anymore. Here's a tip for you, Mr. Sheriff, and here's a tip for you, Mr. Officers. And they all leave. And then he gives her money, or goes to give her money, but doesn't want the money to fall into Matthew's hands, so he gives it to Old Flowerdale. He refers to Kester, which is the other thing that they're calling Old Flowerdale when they're not calling him Christopher. I guess Kester was a nickname for Christopher at the time or something. But he's like, here, Kester, you hold on to this and make sure that she is taken care of. And he's like, you know, you're going to be fine, and he better treat you well, because if he doesn't, he's going to be in serious trouble. And she's like, oh, thank you. And Uncle Flowerdale leaves, and then Matthew instantly turns to Old Flowerdale, and he's like, give me the money, give me the money. And Old Flowerdale's like, no, I'm not giving you anything. You don't deserve any of this. And Matthew gets really angry, to the point where Old Flowerdale is like, he's like, I don't mean to overstep, but if your father was here, he'd be ashamed. And Matthew's like, my father was a jerk. And he's like, because remember, Old Flowerdale is Matthew's father. And now Matthew is talking smack about his own dad to his dad. So he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not working for you anymore. Give me back the 20 pounds that I lent you earlier and we'll call it a day. And Matthew's like, I'm not giving you anything back. And you know, you should give me your livery back, except that it stinks of you, so I don't want to have to touch it. So take that and get out of here. Get out of my sight. Get out of my face. And he tells Luce that she should go and take up residence in a whorehouse because he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore either. And he goes storming off. So in this scene, in this part, we really get to see what a horrible person Matthew is, and why Uncle Flowerdale was probably in the right to be concerned about him at the beginning of the play. So at the very end, we're stuck with just Luce and Old Flowerdale on the stage, and she is once again distraught because she fought for her husband who has now abandoned her. And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And Old Flowerdale is like, look, don't worry about it. I have money. I'll take care of you. We'll set you up somewhere where you're comfortable, where you know everybody, but we'll put you in a disguise so that nobody knows you, so that you don't have to deal with any feelings of shame, and nobody's going to be looking at you funny or anything like that. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it, and I'll take care of him too. This will all work out. And that's the end of Act 1, Scene 9. So this particular scene makes me think of Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo and Juliet is a comedy until it's not. And this play so far has very much been a comedy, and then in this scene, it's very much not. It turns really quickly, and now, we've got poor Luce, who's been abandoned, and she'll never be able to get married again. We've got Matthew storming off, really showing his villainy, all of this kind of stuff. So it definitely took a turn in Act 1, Scene 9. But we'll see. Will the ship right itself again? Come on back tomorrow, and we'll find out. Mwah.